friends, I'm Angie.
I'm Michelle.
And we're Blue Heavens. In this video, we're going to talk about Azera. So we're going to explain you. You're going to explain you. What roles have you played here?
Yeah, so, and this is Azera, and absolutely. Then, yeah. I'm Azera, formerly known as Loki.
Yeah. So enjoy this video. As you were contained within Mount Kailash for 35,000 years, it sounds like you still have parts of you that were having experiences and incarnations here. So could you describe that a little bit?
Yes. What was going on was I fell asleep, astral projection happens. And you got to remember before I left, I was hurt and angry at this divine for the words that was spoken. I understand the words now. That angry young part of me did not understand the words. I now understand everything. I mistook it as my ego in that moment, as the protector of my wife. I was going to kill these people anyway. And I already had it said, no matter what he had said. So you got to remember, as I fell asleep, I fell asleep angry. She fell asleep victimized and hurt. And these aspects that came forth after I fell asleep are going to be angry. Mine was angry and always doomed to die in a very terrible way. Her aspects were always to be victimized, raped, and taken hostage by other men. Because that part of her, that was the last memories that she would have had. Both of us together, when we met, our aspects met, we would have a child who always died, because remember, as we fell asleep, we assumed the death. He was not, but we assumed that death was dead to us. So every aspect of mine that came forth, we'd have a child which would die. So every aspect was angry at the divine, did the middle finger. All of hers would have been victimized, raped, and terrorized by other men. And teaching would have been impossible for her. So every aspect, because she was just reliving the same terror that before she fell asleep. So there was no healing, and there was no healing for me. So that is what was going on. So my aspects and her aspects came forth to cause destruction. So that is what happened.
Wow, yeah.
Yes. Would you like me to describe my aspects and what did they pertain?
Oh yes, absolutely.
So Merlin, so I'm going to announce them as they came out of the cave. So
Okay.
Merlin being the first. Now when I say the first, I had many, 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 many. These were the worst and terrible ones. So that's why I only announced very few, but more
So
of
these were the ones that you suffered the most
yes,
from?
these are the ones that suffered the
Okay.
most. These are the ones I suffered with my priestess.
Okay.
The others I did not suffer with my priestess, and they kind of floated by.
Yeah.
The ones I suffered with my priestess are the ones I had to.
I'm just
Because-
goosebumps all the way up my head.
You felt that. Merlin, now mind you that this is not in order, because this is not, you gotta remember, your time is not like that. It's
Right.
not. So the first to walk was, not the first, but the one with me and my priestess, Merlin, with Morgana. Walked hand in hand, beautiful red hair. He walked out his ego. Merlin was victimized by my son Ezezeal. As you would know, as Arthur, King Arthur. I have no respect for this man. I apologize for those that love and go by his old Camelot bullshit. Sorry, he was nothing like that. He kept me under hostage, took my magic. So everything that you would see Arthur with the sword and all of that was me. That was never him. Merlin, I apologize. Now see, it was all Merlin. I gotta watch this, but Merlin. He kept me under hostage. Arthur was, I'm gonna try, he was a good man. He just got money hungry and power over what I could do for him. He kept me in my memory. I met Morgan, was his half-sister, and she had a younger sister. Their father was killed. Her mom was raped, and Morgan had been raped numerous times. Arthur, being the son, had been her younger brother, she looked up to because she just wanted protection. She felt not protected. When she met Merlin, did not realize Merlin had killed her father. But you remember, in my aspect of meet my female, my priestess, always knows. So he knew something with her. So when they met, that was a destructive, very destructive, but she woke him up because Arthur took the memories of Merlin. He didn't know who he was. He had something around his neck, but Morgan woke him up to the point he knew who he was. And in the end, Arthur had killed Morgan, and that is when the final blow to Arthur's eye slit his throat before he died. Merlin did that. So, but she was correspondent to how she would have slept when she was sleeping. That was her aspect. Merlin just faded off. I don't even realize, I don't know how he died or where he went, to be honest with you. I just know he kind of faded off. When she died, that was his life. He probably just fell asleep and died himself somewhere. He was the first one to go. And then there was Fenrir. Now Fenrir, everybody is thinking and assuming that when I said the black wolf come forth, that was Fenrir. That was never Loki's son, that was the wolf aspect I had carried. I can also, besides my aspect being human, was also animal. He was a ferocious beast that could kill and be protected. I was bound determined, as I guess, with my aspects, to make a poo-poo to the divine. Fenrir caused a lot of damage. So they just assumed, everybody, because he was around the time of Loki, that this was Loki's son. It was never Loki's son. Fenrir was just a powerful wolf that had to be contained in a realm all by himself because he's that powerful. So I brought him forth to be passed, and that's when you heard the growl, he was not happy. And I kept the gray wolf, which was the female part of him that was very docile, very playful, and I kept that part to remind me of the wolf. D.B. Cooper, we all know the history of D.B. Cooper. I was not allowed to keep D.B. Cooper, which was hilarious, but we all know the history. You don't need to get into that.
I'm going to add the D.B. Cooper thing.
Well, you may do that.
Just
a
a side note, you told me before, Loki had told me before that he was D.B. Cooper. Yes. And I remember sitting on my couch and I felt like I needed to tell Scott. I didn't even know who a D.B. Cooper was. But I told Scott, Loki told me he was a D.B. Cooper once. Exactly. And Scott's like, okay. Well, then we watched the Loki series. In the first episode, they have Loki as D.B. Cooper. And I was like, what are you talking about? And Scott's like, you said he was a D.B. Cooper. It's like, I know, like, how did they know he was a D.B. Cooper?
Because I was. Just for kicks. It was not because, Loki wouldn't have known, but the fact that Loki told the story, that is why it came out as he was, but it was not. It was just, who knows where, and they can never find him.
Right.
I mean, but yeah. And I wasn't allowed to keep him. As a matter of fact, he was sucked up by the divine like that, and I was like, all right. Now that was one that had nothing to do with the female energy. But I was not allowed to keep him. Oh, he was humorous. I wanted to, but I was not allowed. So, okay, there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
So then you had Lucifer. Lucifer was before. I'm going to get to him before I get to Loki. Now, the Lucifer I kept was a teacher. He was a Platonist teacher and morning star because he glowed like the stars. And he was a teacher of the divine, but he was not divine. He was an archangel. But the archangels at that time were there to teach, and he was there to teach, but he didn't teach the way the other archangels. Now you got to remember, the divine was okay with however it was being taught, as long as it was being taught. They knew that Lucifer had dark hair, he was a teacher, they knew he was Platonist, and the rest of them were not. So he was kind of already a misfit. Now remember, he is my aspect, so we all know he's doomed. We all know he's doomed, all right? We all know the story here. And his downfall was meeting her. That was his downfall. When he met her, he was in charge of angels, and he was trying to keep an eye on them, but teach. But he let his angels kind of go, do whatever, so they were raping and pillaging, impregnating other women, and his focus was totally on the priestess. He was not even focused on his men. So that's when she got pregnant, and then so his focus became really on her and the baby, not even on the teachings, and he had to pay a price for this, and we all know what price he paid. The horns, now the representation of why they put the horns on his head, is back in the days, deers they represent the steed, they represent that. It was just a mock to him, saying you didn't protect the women, so you're not a very good protector. So that was a mock. The horns were just a mock to her and him. And since you didn't want to take care of the humans, we're going to get rid of the priestess. The reason why, the love of his life. So and she was raped, and she was killed just exactly how the female, my priestess, was always, that's how she always found herself. She was pregnant with a baby, of course the baby died. As always do, because you gotta remember that is how we left things.
Right.
Lucifer still wasn't taught. Now he's very broken. He's taught. Now you guys, we'll go to a different video on the Lucifer you have. Now he is still a teacher, but but you don't want to just call him forth because that's not the same energy. Years and years and years and decades and decades and decades and centuries, people have mistaken Lucifer. And thanks to the Bible, unfortunately, they mistook what Lucifer actually did. They got that all messed up on that. And that's okay because I can't blame them, but let's just say word of mouth has got it all messed up with Lucifer, Morning Star. That people would praise him and give him these terrible energies. And they would kill in his name and do this in his name. And that's not how he started off. They basically created the demon Lucifer. You basically created that part. That wasn't me. The angelic Lucifer is what I kept. That Lucifer was not me. So please understand, that's not me. I am the angelic Lucifer, the one that taught. I was the one that taught these lessons. So understand, that's why I kept the original. This one that you have now is to be respected. Don't call on him unless you've got proper training. And understand that he is in his own right to be respected. I do respect, but he was created by the humans. Let's just say that. With all your energies and praise that you've given him, you created that. You created the place he was at because you just figured the scarred up face, that is what he should look like. So you created the place he was at and you created all that. So this was an illusion that was created, right, where he's at now. And that is all right because he does well for himself. You don't have to worry about it. But I kept the angelic Lucifer. And then Loki. The one that's most dear to my heart. I don't really know why, because he's kind of an ass. He is a mess. I've seen how he was in my life. He was the most hurt. And maybe because he reflected so much of me. He loved her beyond everything. He loved the priestess. He loved her more than his whole life. He would have done anything to protect his priestess. He came in here in his life, Angela, to meet you because he had no idea that Merlin knew when he saw Morgana and Morgan, he knew she left the cave. Azera and me woke up as Merlin. Merlin woke up as Azera. He knew. He just knew his name was Azerus. He would say Azerus, but it's Azera. And he just knew, and he knew this was an aspect of an illusion. Morgan was very smart. When he woke up from the illusion he was under, he woke up. Morgan woke him up, but he saw the sister. He said, she's woken up. Oh, like no, like that. So there was no happiness in the fact you woke up. No planning on ever leaving, but. So Loki comes back to experience like the Merlin. He knew. And he wanted to see the priestess as whole again as he had him. And there's a sleep a little bit here, but you is why he always leaned on you, and he always leaned because he was so fascinated by that whole thing. His priestess always died for him. She always did anything for him, and Loki knew that. So Loki was the most protective over the priestess. But his ego was terrible. He was just a terrible being. Very trickery. He was that part of me to the middle finger, and I can't say that any of my aspects were any less anymore. And he was the same, but I hold him more dear because he was the most hurt. And to watch Tom, when he betrayed Loki, when he betrayed that in the shows, it was wonderful to see him heal. The divine had a plan for him all along. It brought a person that looked just like him. And when you see Tom and he is not being Loki, he looks like Loki is. And he acts like Loki is. And then you see when he acts like Loki, he is Loki. So I love that, the fact that he could bring out Lokius and Loki. So people might have confused. I wonder, that's probably why Lokius is always confused, thinking Loki was his dad. Right. But Loki would have protected Lokius with his whole heart. But he never felt that connection. That's why he always badgered him and always hated on him, because it wasn't him, and he knew. And he never explained why he felt such a hate towards this kid. Right. Because it was Azura's kid, not Loki's child. But that's each of my aspects explained. But those were the ones that passed because those were ones I had with my priestess. And those are the ones that had to go with each priest. And that as I walked out, she walked out with that would walk out. Right. So that's why those were the ones that were most significant.
I'd like to say, when I was young, I used to have a dream every year around September. Right. And I didn't know who it was until y'all. Yeah. So it would be Michelle and I and her parents driving to, it felt like a rich family member's home. It was up on a hill, it was a rich family member's home. They had a gigantic pool. Mm-hmm. And at night, he would sit in a throne with a deer head on him with antlers, and he had a trident, and he'd sit in front of this pool and he would just sit there. And I never understood what it was until I started studying all this stuff and learning about these aspects and shamanism and all this stuff. It was always you guys. It was always you guys coming in my dream to remind me of you. And all of those things helped you come out of the cave, because I think if it wouldn't have been for dreams like that, I don't know how much of this I would have believed. But the fact that it started so young with me and Michelle, all these signs and stuff, it's like it was always ingrained in us to know who you are.
She got the name Azera when she was 19 after her car wreck, and it was a near-death experience, and she did die. And my aspect as a dream came to her. She would have seen me. And she said, I'm ready to go. I said, no, you're not. And she's arguing with me. And I said, this is Azera, your husband. And I go, yes, Azera, your husband. And then she clung. You gotta remember, that's just that was not me from the cave. That was to tell her she had to go back, but we had to do a near-death experience to bring it to her, because she was ready to wake up then. She was ready to wake up then. She just wasn't ready and didn't have the experience. And that's when we had to take what was left of her and bring Rokeus, and we had to do a rotation switch. So she's not been in there since 19 years old. She's been in there a little bit to heal and keep the human parts of things so she can keep the memory, but she left for healing. She did not go with me. The Pleiades took, gotta remember that, they took to heal that other part of her. She wasn't ready to go out of the cave. I was asleep, so I could not work with her, and the only one that could be Krishna. Krishna was not the one that took. That's why he was able to always on the labels. That's why he could do that with an orbit within her, but he would do it privately away from Rokeus, so Rokeus never could see, because Rokeus would not have understood. But but he took that part to heal her. The labels was the last part to heal her. The last part for her to realize all the good and all the good in her. And when she seen that, she was not terrible. This was actually a dual energy. And then when I asked you for a name and talked to David, and he goes, didn't you mention Azera? And she goes, I heard Michelle go, that part of her that was there, she's a little bit here. And I heard Rokeus go, he goes, who's Azera? And David said, when she had a car wreck, she had mentioned his name, and he said, because she had told him a little bit of time, for whatever reason, that name Azera came to him, and he goes, Azera, why does that name come in my head? Azera. And you had been seeing that car with the same name.
I've been seeing the Azera card. The Azera card.
So, but the name itself was presenting me. So Loki has been in your videos, you've been hearing Loki, as I was waking up, knowing that I was already waking up, he was reliving Azera. But not understanding some facts, and he was missing facts, and he was trying to take credit for those things that I did that he did not do. But he would not have known, he would have took complete overthinking. He was a big protective here. Now I make more sense to the viewers, because now the energies makes more sense, because what he was saying wasn't making sense. But his heart was in the right place only because he didn't understand he was an aspect. And it was time for him to leave. He fought only because he wanted to stay. He was so ego. And then doing these videos, he's still here. And if I'm doing this, it's to calm me, because I kept him to kind of heal and nest it. But this is my memories here that were the good memories. He did bring me a lot of good memories. Lucifer brought me some good memories. And Merlin, despite everything. And these were always with my priestess. So Morgan brought me some beautiful memories. And so every time, I kept the ones that my priestess was really involved in. I kept those. But I could not keep Fenrir too wild. So he had to go back. But I kept the gray part, the female, the little playful part. I kept that. That was allowed. So that is, yes.
Okay.
Wasn't that fantastic, Angela? This whole video of experience, wasn't it not fascinating?
It is beyond fascinating.
It is.
I love being a part of it. I love having it unfold itself before us. I love how interconnected everything is and how predestined everything is.
In your life, the illusion is an illusion. Let go of this illusion. And once you let go of that illusion of all that you thought was, is not, you go forth in a whole new direction. And it is a beautiful experience. And then that can teach. That can be the person forth. That is a true, authentic you.
Authentic self.
That is you. And once you take all these illusions away, and if I can walk out to the cave, you can walk out to yours as well. Absolutely. We can walk out and take this illusion and be whoever you're meant to be in this wonderful realm. And that is the most beautiful gift of all you can ever give yourself, is the gift of you. That gift will keep on giving.
Yes, a healed you.
I healed you, the true version of you. What did you tell when I came out? You said the true me.
Yes.
The true me, the truth.
Yeah, that everything was seen in truth.
And you said my son is in truth. And that is how you will see, and they will see you as in truth.
Truth.
And that is the most beautiful feeling of all, to be seen in truth.
Absolutely.
So
we hope that you understand that you are seen and loved by the creator of the universe and all of these beings, that there is just infinite love, infinite forgiveness for you to feel safe to come out no matter where you are, and feel safe to be your authentic self, to go and give love to everybody that's in your path, because that is your true purpose.
And this is, Marcus, and that is true. Whatever you were meant to be in this realm, knock that illusion, and you will be exactly who you were meant to be, whoever that is. And that's the beautiful puzzle piece of all. And that is how I teach her children, is I go, life is a puzzle piece. Where do you fit in? If this piece doesn't fit in, and then that doesn't, don't try to push it. Let's see where it fits. And your life is a puzzle piece, and it's a beautiful 1,000-piece, 1,500-piece puzzle, or 8. It depends on your
Yeah.
skill level of puzzles, But that doesn't matter. It's just that's what life is. The puzzle piece. It's a beautiful puzzle. And when you put that puzzle together, the beauty that is there, that is your life. And it's always a puzzle. It's always fitting a piece, and you grow and you grow. And when you take this authentic and you're you be anything you want to be, whoever you were created to be, that is who you are. And what is more beautiful and unconditionally loving than that? And your orbit of love is out for everybody to be surrounded. And that orbit of love can learn and grow from you and be taught, as this great creator has been teaching humans for a very long time. It starts with you, and it goes forth and goes forth. And what a beautiful world we would have if everybody could do this. When you see somebody hurting, especially this holiday season, if you're seeing this around the holidays, or actually any time of year you're seeing anybody hurt, lend your ear, your time, or anything for them. You don't know where they have been. Love always will help in some way. So let's just be kind to others. You don't know what they have walked.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, but know your love, and your orbit of love is you, your true you. Know that.
We love you, and we will see you in our next video.